let's talk about In the Heights, gentlemen. It's been on the tip of my tongue since I saw it. You don't know how hard it was because we went out Saturday night as a group, and we had all seen In the Heights by then, but we did not talk about it very much at all. A couple things here and there, but we really had to be tight-lipped, you know. And for a movie this good, it's hard to stay quiet about a movie like In the Heights. Because, my God, I'm going to start by saying this. This is how I'm going to lead it off for you guys. This is exactly the kind of jubilant, theatrical experience I missed ever since I was told that I couldn't go to the theater anymore, that all the theaters were closed. This is exactly the kind of thing I wanted to see on the screen. I'm a musical fan. I don't watch as many of them as I probably should, but I always enjoy a good musical. I enjoy the sort of camaraderie. I enjoy how the lyrics and the beat matches the editing in a lot of these scenes, and it does so here extremely well. And of course, In the Heights was penned, the musical / play was penned by Lin-Manuel Miranda of Hamilton fame. So we're probably going to dive into him quite a bit throughout this next segment as well. But of course, it was a musical. It was adapted from a book. The screenwriter of the book is the writer of the book is the screenwriter of the film, Chiara Algria Hughes. I'm gonna butcher that name. I really should have looked into that one. I ain't gonna butcher that one anymore. Give respect to the talented over here. But yeah, excellent. I'm just gonna come off and say excellent theater experience and a damn great movie. Huge ensemble, memorable songs, and just, you know, when it comes to Lin-Manuel Miranda too, Lin-Manuel Miranda. When it comes to somebody, I know he didn't write the movie, but he's obviously writing some of the source material, not the actual source material, but this was adapted from the musical. And, you know, when it comes to crafting a play with diverse casts, huge ensembles, big set pieces, likable character types, expressive and unique lyricism too, and just the impact of togetherness that ties together through the theme of this as it takes place in Washington Heights, New York. Lin-Manuel Miranda can have the goddamn crown for being so on top of just everything that makes a musical memorable, exciting, and an experience. And that's what this movie absolutely is. I'm sky high on my praise for this. I can't wait to hear what you say. Joe, what say you about In the Heights?
This is just some no, okay, I'm not gonna joke about it, man.
I knew you were gonna go like make that crack.
I'm not even gonna do it. Like, I'm just gonna stick with what Steve was saying. Yeah, man, for sure, this is the movie. As much as I love seeing Quiet Place 2 in theaters, and it's probably gonna be one of my favorite movies at the end of the year, this was the movie, honestly, that made me realize how much I missed going to the movies and how much I missed what it feels like to be around people and everything. Because this movie is just the perfect way to just, well, welcome back normalcy, honestly. The amount of people you see on screen just having fun, dancing at, like, so many festivities and everything, at water parks, at barbecues, at nightclubs, just out on the street. It's just like, just going, like, honestly, watching people just go to their work at early in the morning, grabbing coffee. It just felt like, oh God, it feels so good to see that again, honestly. And I know it's not like, I shouldn't be like giving movie so many points for that, because it's like, how did the movie expect a pandemic to come down? But that being said, Steve is absolutely right. It's a lot of fun. Just seeing these big ensemble pieces of just city life in Washington Heights is a ton of fun. The opening number to this movie, I think, is the best number. It sucks to say that it is the opening number, but it is absolutely fantastic. I love watching Usnavi. I had to remember how his name was said, but then
played by Anthony Ramos.
Thank you. Yeah, how like Usnavi opens up his shop, he welcomes, and like you introduce to each character a little backstory to them. It's done so well. Reminded me so much of the opening song to Hamilton as well. I wonder why. But that's not saying the other numbers aren't great either. There's one that takes place at a water park. It's really damn cool. I'm a sucker for splash dancing. There's one involving like the life of this older woman, and you're going throughout her childhood to where she is now, and it's very emotional. It's very touching. And there's even just like some like very like Hollywood imaginative magical moment between Corey Hawkins and his girlfriend in the film that I won't ruin, but the way that was shot was like really cool. It reminded me some of the older musicals that I grew up watching in film class. But yeah, man, it is just a blast to go and see this movie. It is by far, I think, probably the most fun I will have in theaters. There was not a time I was not smiling or, you know, just like, I'll admit it. It's been a while since I've said this, but I actually had tears running down my face because of how emotional I got sometimes with the story and how much, like, you know, I'm not Puerto Rican, I'm Italian, but my grandparents did come from another country, and my parents did kind of have to go through something like this, and I saw similarities in them throughout this movie, and it honestly hit home a ton of times. It's an absolutely fantastic movie. I can't wait to talk about it further, but before I keep talking, because I know I will, I'm gonna pass it off to Dom.
Yeah, there's going off what you said. There's a specific immigrant angle to this that if you are within that world at all, it's if you have any familiarity with that world, it hits pretty deep. There are like multiple characters. I want to say like half the cast, which makes sense because it's, you know, it deals with a lot of those issues. But half of the characters deal with some sort of immigration one way or another. And yeah, as the first generation parents came from the Philippines, it really struck deep, honestly. So I think both of you guys mentioned that In the Heights, the first song, opening song, is your favorite song. I think both of you are going to say that.
Yes.
I'm actually really surprised by that because I thought at least Carnaval del Barrio would be, it's your number two. There you go.
That's two.
That's like top five for me in this movie as well.
Fair enough. Honestly, for me, it's like a tie between Paciencia y Fe, which is the abuela going through her life, kind of flashback song, her song. And then, yeah, between that and Carnaval del Barrio, I think Paciencia is going to be her probably the most emotional one. Yeah, Steve?
If we'll do, like I said, for yours, In the Heights would be my number one, followed very closely by Carnaval del Barrio, which I love that one. I love that number just because it's in such a tight space too. That had to be a blocking nightmare to shoot that thing, as well as they did. Credit to Jon M. The third one would be No Me Diga, which is in the salon, which is in is the salon song.
That is a good one.
When Nina comes back, I love that because I used to get my hair cut in a place in Chicago that was just like that. Your haircut would take 20 minutes, but it would take 45 with the amount of gossiping in between. It was great.
So freaking true.
If I do mine as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Go for it.
For me, like I said, In the Heights is number one for me. Then Blackout, because the drum fills in that song as a drummer myself are really damn good. 96,000 would be 3. And then probably Carnival del Barrio, and then the Abuela song would be number 5.
Yeah,
96,000's great. Go on, Dom.
Yeah, we could just heap praise on this soundtrack the whole night, and maybe we will, but we'll try not to. But yeah, dude, the thing about this musical is that you sit back and you look at it, honestly. So I watched it at home. I wanted to get that home experience. I'm kind of sick of theaters. No, I'm kidding. But like... no, I watched it at home, and even then, watching it at home, I was still like, I was wondering to myself, how the hell did we not get a musical like this for so long? It took 2021 to get a movie musical. Obviously, the original In the Heights was like 2009 or something. But how did we not get a movie musical like this for this long? Like, it is just absolutely perfect. It's a extremely diverse cast, diverse in the Latin and Hispanic sense. It takes advantage of both hip hop and traditional song. It's beautifully shot, and it's extremely colorful, and it's like, dang, we really got Hairspray, like 3 versions of Hairspray before we got this movie. And it's like, all right, well, I guess it was time for it. And honestly, it really does pay off. Going to what I mentioned about how it was shot, and really just the everything, this whole movie is so active. And I was like, damn, there's so many extras in this movie. And lo and behold, when it got to the credits, usually in like a Marvel movie, you'll see like the CGI technicians, like all the programmers, it's like literally like 7 font with 7 size font with like the margins all the way out to here, and it's like all the tiny little, because there's like a billion CGI artists. It's kind of the same thing for all the extras and dancers in the background. Like, kudos to Chu for did I say that right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, yes. Okay, Chu. For really nailing that. And honestly, the difference between having a really active but really fun and festive screen, I'll just say, I don't know the technical word for it, screen, as opposed to not word vomit, color vomit, and just like, this is too much, this is like a Michael Bay film. That's a very fine line to cross, and it's very, very hard to do. It's a very hard thing. I wouldn't even know how to like do that. But when you see it and when you're not disturbed by it, it actually is beautiful, and it really goes to show again. Jon M. Chu is he's built for these kinds of movies. So
yeah,
I keep mentioning him. We've mentioned him before. Funny enough, the major player here that is not Hispanic or Latino is the director. And it's thinking, why did they choose? I mean, obviously, if they're good, they're good. But like, you would think if the whole cast is from this part of the world, why would they choose an Asian director? I believe he's half Taiwanese, half Chinese. Well, if you go, it's like, but Chelsea actually forgot. It's like, oh yeah, he's the director of Crazy Rich Asians, and it's like, okay, that makes perfect sense. Honestly, this movie, this movie, I'm not part of the audience that would make that decision, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this movie is to the Latin and Hispanic communities as Crazy Rich Asians was to the Asian community here in America.
There's so many.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jon M. Chu is also. He got to start with a couple Step Up sequels. He did the Justin Bieber documentary, sense. Never Say Never.
That makes sense.
He did I think he did a G.I. Joe sequel in there as well.
Yeah.
Retaliation, yeah. And Crazy Rich Asians, which is probably what he's most known for. And then also he's, I believe, I don't know what 19th director they're on, but I think he's directing the Wicked movie. I think.
Oh.
Yes.
He was correct. Attached at one point. Okay, he still is. Good. Because the guy, up until this point, I've seen a lot of his movies. He also did that Gem and the Holograms movie nobody saw either.
That's right, he
did. He did that one. The guy hasn't had the best scripts to work with, but he makes everything a visual spectacle. And I honestly think this is his best directorial job yet.
Yeah, as somebody who saw Crazy Rich Asians in theaters back in 2018, I really did love that movie. And one, it is owed to Jon M. Chu, who really brought you into that lifestyle, brought you into that royalty that exists out there. And he sold it well. The cinematography in that movie, the sets, all the extras is what sells that movie and makes it as fun as it is, putting you in that experience, in that hot seat, along with the main character of experiencing that culture. And he just does the same thing here. It's just like, now you're plopped into Washington Heights with Usnavi, and you're gonna go on this journey with him and meet all these people throughout the community, and what it means to be from another country here in the United States, trying to get by every day and everything, and just being part of this community as a whole. It was just like, wow, man, twice you've taken an aspect of another culture in a setting and you sold it completely. You shot it well, and it just has so much energy to it that I'm honestly this guy is getting better and better with each movie, honestly, since Crazy Rich Asians, I should say, because his start was like this, especially with Gem and the Holograms. But since Crazy Rich Asians, it's been like this, and I'm hoping that Wicked movie is a knockout of the park as well.
Yeah, and Dom was saying too, it's been a while since we've gotten movie musicals. I'll try to refrain from why, given in my monologue about the box office performance of In the Heights, because you go back to Rent, and Rent bombed. Musicals are one of those things, they're niche, and they're niche, if you will say. But the problem also is that you just get it's a very finite audience for this kind of thing too. But yeah, I really believe that this movie, I saw it as a matinee screening, and it was a plethora of people in there. It was a lot of older people. It was a lot of younger people, probably about 25 people, and everybody enjoyed it. Everybody applauded at the end. And that's the thing about this movie too, is that you know, I know there's the universality argument of like not everything has to be universal, but like I know some people are going to look at this movie and say this movie isn't for me or whatever, given the, the makeup of the cast, the Latin, Dominican, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, the plethora of faces, blacks that you see in this movie. But this movie does have a real universal message in a way about being a part of a community, being, from a community. And I think Usnavi says it early in the movie. You could throw a rock and hit somebody with a dream and with somebody with big plans. And I think it excels to this movie is because Washington Heights is a character in its own, but it also feels like this lived in breathing ecosystem.
Yeah, a million percent. And honestly, like looking at that community, in the community in the film, and it's like I sometimes I do wonder. It's like, damn, dude, particularly out here in the suburbs. It's like obviously we have our communities, so we've got each other and we've got our families and whatnot, to a good degree too. But it's like, damn, nothing like that. Granted, it is it's a movie, so to some degree it's a fantasy. But certainly in an urban environment, I would imagine it's a little more tight knit, just because people are literally closer together. And it's like, damn, we're really kind of missing that out in the suburbs sometimes. And even then, I feel like people if they can't identify with it, which very hard pressed, that'd be a very rare thing. Maybe they don't even recognize it at first. At the very least, they can be attracted to it, because that sense of family and that sense of belonging there, even with all their dysfunctions, it's so cool to see it play out in this specific way. And honestly, we mentioned the soundtrack before, but going back to it just for a moment, the blend of hip hop and song here, I think, going back to Hamilton, which was Lin-Manuel Miranda's, it came after In the Heights, and it was that was the first movie, so to speak, kind of the movie but shot on the stage itself. But like that one, I think trended more towards hip hop, or rather, between the balance between rap and song, it was a little more rap. I think that's kind of safe to say, looking back on it. Here, I think it's more, if not half and half. I think a little more sung. What do you guys? Would you say that? It's kind of hard to say, right? But you kind of have to look at it again. But regardless, just comparing the two, which is inevitable, just because they're the biggest things on Miranda's history, his rap sheet. I don't know. I feel like I still gravitate towards Hamilton more personally, just because it's such a weirder thing, right? It's like, hey, here's George Washington, or rather, here's Thomas Jefferson rapping about like coming back from France. I'm like, that is so crazy. Where the hell, like, will you ever like see that ever again? Honestly, because then you'll just be a Hamilton ripoff. But also, just like, who would even think of that? Whereas In the Heights, as I mentioned earlier, it's like, yeah, how have we not gotten this musical before? Still, at the same time, it felt less unique. I think I'm even laying it on there a little bit thick, but you know what I'm saying, Joe?
No, okay. I hate to like jump to a criticism.
I mean, that's fine. I was kind of signaling that way too. I was trying to prevent us from not.
I love this movie. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I really do, because I know Steve loved it, because I read his review, because I just had to know what he thought of it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
It's the only review I ever read ahead of us like actually talking about it, because I was just curious. I'm like, man, I wonder if he loved it more than me, because the glimpse that I got while we were at our little dinner over the weekend, I was like, I think this dude loved it more than me. I do like Hamilton more. I am in Dom's boat there. And it's just because Hamilton's also just a tighter story here. It's tighter. Yeah. It is more original. Oh my God. Original and weirder as well. To Dom's credit, he did point out that, and thinking about it, yeah. Here, it's not that the movie's not original. There's nothing wrong with like taking the same old stuff and doing it, but you're doing it in a refreshing way. You're doing it with energy. You're doing it with a lot more fun than like, I don't know, half of the other melodramas that we get that are Oscar bait films from time to time that are about like, immigration or something that like, just like, oh, we'll go out there to get the audience's hearts wrenching. Like, oh my God, it's so sad. But it's like In the Heights doesn't do that. It never steeps that low. The only thing I would just say as far as my criticism is that there are so many storylines in this movie that other than the main character Usnavi's, I wasn't really attached to any of the other ones. There's one involving the character Nina where she experiences some racism at her college when she comes back home. There's another one involving the salon ladies, which is fine, and there's another one involving the love interest Vanessa. They're not bad. It's just like I just was finding myself way more attached to Usnavi's storyline and the characters surrounding him than everybody else in the movie. That doesn't mean I didn't have fun with those other characters, because the music numbers that they have to go along with their stories are much better than the actual stories themselves. While Usnavi, I feel like, has a good balance of both.
Yeah, and it makes it, obviously there's like A, B, and C plots. We recognize
it's a musical,
that,
for
of
God's
course.
sakes, yeah.
Yeah, but even then, just like how, well, actually with Vanessa's, that's like, you would think that would be pretty important too, because she's the main love interest, right? But even then, there was something about Vanessa's story with her trying to be a fashion designer, and then, that just felt underdeveloped the whole time. to me personally, I don't know. Maybe it's because I've seen that kind of story a billion times. You could say that with all these stories. Something about that felt a little undercooked. And then something with Nina's story, the daughter who's, she's dropping out of college, or is she? And then Jimmy Smith's trying to, he's a hardworking immigrant dad. And then it's like, that one just felt like it wrapped up on a dime, like in 2 seconds or something, and without any fanfare whatsoever. I don't know. That one, I don't know.
That one felt a little quick to wrap up, I'll say. Yes. Yeah.
But
I like the direction. I like the meat that it's given, though. I do like the kind of direction it's taken because of the battle of upward mobility for future generations versus preserving something from the past. I think the thematic weight of the plot line is better, even if it does feel like it gets wrapped up too cleanly.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I should also mention that I don't think any of us have seen we never saw the musical on Broadway. And I don't think we listened to the original Broadway recording at all. I know I really didn't. Maybe I caught 96,000 by chance. Maybe a couple songs after listening to Hamilton last year. But really, I really didn't. We were all going in kind of blinded into this. So I know people are like, oh man, they cut this song. And it's like, oh, they completely ruined this story from the original. It's like, that's not our angle. I'm just judging it based on what I saw in the film. And even then though, still, it's like, something's felt a little undercooked there. And I have to watch it again and really, really see why. Maybe it's a tough balancing act when you convert to film. I do think though, that had they gone any longer, I think they would have overstayed their welcome, because there's only so many songs there's only so I hesitate to say this, but like I feel like there would be only so many song numbers in a Latin Hispanic musical that celebrate the same things that you can really lay on over and over again. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Hamilton has more versatility, because it's like, yeah, there was no rap in the 1700s, so we can just do whatever and it'll feel fresh. Whereas here, if you have similar instrumentation going on for 2.5 hours or so, similar, the same kind of melodic contours and what have you, all those musical analysis stuff, it can kind of feel overwrought. Thankfully, I don't think it overstayed its welcome personally. Maybe some messiness with the plot. But honestly, I thought it ended right where it needed to, and I still had fun.
I would say too, like the movie is 2.5 hours long. Never felt its length though. I was having that much fun that by the time we had to wrap it up and it was on its last scene, I was like, wow, all right, like we're actually finishing this. Wow, that flew by. Nice.
There's dialogue, but there's so few and far between. It goes from song to song.